welcome to this edition of Ethical Sustainable Investment News and Analysis to Profit By. I'm Ron Robbins, an ethical investing pioneer for over 40 years, quoted in the Wall Street Journal, MarketWatch, the Globe and Mail, and numerous other global media, and founder of the world-acclaimed ethical sustainable investing information website Investing for the Soul. And please note my disclosure statement at the end of the podcast. Now enjoy this podcast. Hello, Ron Robbins here. Welcome to my podcast, Ethical and Sustainable Investing News to Profit By for June 21st, 2019. Presented by Investing for the Soul. Investingforthesoul.com is your site for vital global ethical and sustainable investment information and resources. Now to this podcast, and Google any terms that are unfamiliar to you. Also, you can find a full transcript, live links, and bonus material to this podcast at this edition's podcast page located at investingforthesoul.com/podcasts. Now, many investors listening to this podcast are investing with an ethical, sustainable investing mindset that takes seriously the need to care for the planet and as such is already leaning towards, if not done so already, to a more vegetable-based diet. Therefore, you've been following with great interest Beyond Meat's ascension to stock price heights that were unimaginable a few weeks ago. Recently, it was trading above $160, and to me, that tells us something. It says that there's a paradigm shift taking place in the food industry, centering around vegan, vegetarian foods, and in my June 7th podcast, I gave you some links to sites where you could find some interesting ideas for such investments. Now, also along these lines, Corporate Knights have published another great article on this industry titled Plant Burgers Bring Home the Bacon. And there you might find even more companies in this sector that you could look at for investment purposes. Another favorite for ethical sustainable investors is renewable energy. In the US, despite President Trump's attempt to get everyone excited about the fossil fuel industry there, renewable energy continues to take off. An argument for even greater takeoff is made by Travis Hoyam in his Motley Fool post, Why Renewable Energy Stocks Could Have a Great Year. He argues that lower interest rates will power up renewables. Quoting him, he says, quote, like it or not, renewable energy stocks' performance today is tied to what the Federal Reserve does with interest rates in any given month. The value of renewable power plants rises and falls with the market's interest rates, and the impact of their movement trickles down to influence demand for everything from solar panels to inverters and wind turbines. End quote. Companies he likes in the solar panel area are Canadian Solar on NASDAQ, symbol CSIQ, First Solar, also NASDAQ, symbol FSLR, and SunPower, NASDAQ, symbol SPWR, and for wind, General Electric, New York Exchange, GE, and Vestas Wind Systems, NASDAQ, symbol VWSYF. Travis also makes other recommendations in the renewable energy sector that you can read in his post. Sophia Kay, writing in Barron's with an article titled Solar Power is Starting to Shine, Here Are Some Stocks Poised to Benefit, covers Sunrun on NASDAQ, RUN, SunPower we discussed, and NASDAQ, SPWR, Vivint Solar, New York Exchange, VSLR, and Invesco Solar ETF, New York Exchange ARCA, TAN. While on the subject of renewable energy, a global new cell efficiency and modular output record were made by Jinko Solar, New York, JKS symbol, and what they did specifically, quoting a news release titled, Jinko Solar breaks world record for cell efficiency and module output. It states that the maximum conversion efficiency of Jinko Solar's cheetah-size cells and N-type cells reached 24.38% and 24.58% respectively during testing conducted by the Chinese Academy of Sciences in March 2019, China's authoritative National Academy for the Natural Sciences. Is Jinko Solar a buy? Well, the average of 6 analysts covered by Reuters rate it as a hold, possibly a buy. However, these analyst opinions appear to have been made prior to Jinko Solar's announcement. Profitably investing in renewable energy is one way we can help solve our climate change problems, and thus create a less polluted world. Another is investing in companies making real efforts to reduce plastics pollution. Plastics pollution has recently been given prominence, and 2 companies among the largest polluters of plastic are Coca-Cola and PepsiCo. Tim Nash over at Corporate Knights compares them both from a plastics, environmental, and investing perspective in his article, Tim Nash's Sustainable Stock Showdown, Pepsi versus Coke Plastic Challenge. He says, quote, "Forget taste tests. It's which drink maker will be the choice of a planet-conscious generation." Close quote. His final opinion is that, and quoting him again, he says that Coca-Cola and Pepsi are very similar when it comes to most sustainability metrics. But I'll give Pepsi the edge thanks to its broader diversification and the disruptive potential of refillable dispenser technologies like SodaStream. Both companies have a long way to go, but Pepsi is this week's winner of the Sustainable Stock Showdown. Close quote. Now, doing your own investing can be daunting. Just in these podcasts, you hear about so many different investment opportunities. Because I know what this can be like, a year ago I created a simple, step-by-step, 1-hour, do-it-yourself ethical sustainable investing tutorial. It doesn't require any financial knowledge or math skills, and you'll quickly learn how to easily put together a stock portfolio reflecting your values directly, and which will potentially be as profitable and at a lower cost than any other option available. So take a few seconds to check it out. Just go to investingforthesoul.com/podcast and scroll down the right-hand column for the link. Now let's cover a few useful miscellaneous items. If you're interested in racial justice issues, there's a robo-advisor for U.S. investors offering just that. The firm is OpenInvest, and it has launched the Racial Justice Index Fund. Here's what OpenInvest says about it. Quote, OpenInvest has identified companies that hold themselves accountable to the public regarding their progress on employee diversity and their commitment to environmental justice. Our Racial Justice Cause allows any investor to tailor their investments to only include those companies who are transparent about their progress on diversity targets and to divest from those that disproportionately pollute in communities of color. You can also read more about it in Fortune article titled "You Can Now Invest in a Racial Justice Index Fund" by Ray Mashiaki. And there's yet another new ESG ETF that's gathering attention, and that is Nuvine's ESG Large Cap ETF. On the CBO exchange, symbol NULC. You can read all about it in Tom Schreiber's article, Nuvine Adds to ESG Roster with New Large Cap ETF at benzinga.com. Quoting his article, quote, "The new NULC tracks the TIA ESG USA Large Cap Index. The index uses a rules-based methodology that seeks to provide investment exposure that generally replicates that of large-cap benchmarks through a portfolio of securities that adhere to predetermined ESG, controversial business involvement and low-carbon screening criteria, according to Nuvine." Close quote. While wanting to invest ethically, sustainably, we can always be subject to greenwashing investing. That is, investing in companies that say a lot of good things, but don't do any real heavy lifting. I've always been greatly concerned about this, and for decades have advocated that corporate social responsibility reports, now often replaced with sustainability reports, provide not only metrics that are material, that is, would affect their operations and stock price, but also such reports be quantifiable where possible and audited by reputable outside independent auditors, much the same way as for financial statements. And we're getting there. Only in this way can we get rid of greenwashing. Masja Zandbergen has written a good piece about avoiding greenwashing from a portfolio manager's perspective in the article titled "Avoiding Greenwashing in Sustainable Investing" in Singapore's The Business Times. It's useful reading to see how you might avoid falling for greenwashing in your investing. So these are my top news stories and tips for ethical and sustainable investing over the past 2 weeks. Again, to get all the links or to read the transcript of this podcast and sometimes get additional information too, please go to investingforthesoul.com/podcast and scroll down to this edition. And be sure to click the like and subscribe buttons in iTunes or wherever you listen to this podcast. That way you can help promote not only this podcast, but ethical and sustainable investing globally. And remember, I'm here to help you grow in your investment success and investing in opportunities that reflect your personal values. Please don't hesitate to contact me if you have any questions about the content of this podcast or anything else investment related. I can't say I'll have all the answers for you, and some answers I can't give due to licensing restrictions. But where I can help, I will. Now a big thank you for listening, and please click the share buttons to share this podcast with your friends and family. Come again. My next podcast is scheduled for July 5th. Bye for now. Learn how to create a simple portfolio reflecting your personal values by taking my 1-hour tutorial. Go to investingforthesoul.com/podcasts and click the link there for my do-it-yourself ethical sustainable investing page tutorial. And don't forget to subscribe to my podcast using whatever app or site you get your podcasts from. Now, as I indicated earlier, I want to offer full disclosure. That means I'll mention in the show if I have any direct interest or holdings in companies or securities I'm talking about. Also, any favorable or unfavorable comments I make concerning companies or securities should not be considered investment recommendations. And furthermore, I cannot guarantee the accuracy or incur any responsibility or liability for any information herein. Please do contact me. I'd love to hear from you. I'm at ronr@investingforthesoul.com. Signing off, this is Ron Robbins.